Good morning from Dubai. Shambhavi here from Shambhavi Spectrum. And evening, late night for Shantanu and Sharjil from Vancouver. Hello, everybody who's watching
Canada.
this now and who's going to see this later. UAE has had a crazy 4 week, 4 days post Eid, and we are still battling the water clogging everywhere. But it's amazing how the community has come together. And this is my official thanks to everybody who is putting in that support out there. And thank you very much, Shantanu and Sharjil. If you would like to take a quick few seconds to introduce yourself, please.
Yes. Go for it.
Shantanu,
Sharjil,
go ahead.
no, you go for it. It's fine.
All right. So, hi guys. My name is
Yeah.
Sharjil Yunus. What's up? Hello, hello, hello. I run two bits of marketing along with Shantanu over here. Also do a bunch of different podcasts, culture conversations. My entire thing is culture, stories, storytelling. Love this space. Love what we have in store for you. Some very cool things are gonna happen.
Okay, that's it. Tell them a fun fact about you, like last
Is
time.
it? So this is our second in the series of LinkedIn Lives that we are doing, and we have two
Yeah.
more which we are going to do in the followings. Please do mark yourself attending those sessions. Go ahead, Shantanu. Let's hear it from you.
Yeah, my name is Shantanu Gupta, and we both are live from Vancouver, Canada. Uh, I love marketing. I'm into also sales as a professional, and always a believer of keep learning. And me and Shaji work together in two bits, and we have been privileged to be with Dr. Shambhavi and have this opportunity to meet everyone. And today's presentation is going to be a lot of fun. So just FYI for everyone tuning in.
So you remember those times when storytelling was like more associated with families, and either it was a moonlit night or it was electricity had gone off, and you had these very typical storytellers in the family who would tell you, and but they were not telling; they were actually creating those visuals around it, and so you were actually walking that journey, and that sudden noises or the voice modulations they would make. And then from there we moved on to where it became audiobooks, when it became more nuclear families, are so many audio podcasts and things. And then we have now very, which should be considered serious but we think it's fun, is storytelling in business. And
Yes.
leave you gentlemen to continue this conversation from here.
Perfect. So I'll take over because first two slides are mine. Actually, it's all of us, but I just like to segment it that way. So hold on your breath. The second slide is going to be pretty interesting. I want to kind of want you all to see it and think what the first thing you think of, and then just put in comments. So look at this, right? It's an advertisement for a car brand without a car, which hardly happens. And I don't think a lot of folks really think in business and in storytelling. They like to go with conventional way that things are going on. They never like to question the status quo. I think that's what is happening here. Like they could have put the car, they could have done a lot of things, but it took a lot of guts to just do this. What for me it visualizes is like there is the brand name Ford, and it talks about kind of a journey through a city. It can be any kind of city because of beautiful skyline. So that's what we're trying to bring about today is that it's a business storytelling. It's not a session where you will learn how to write a story and create a book and become an author tomorrow. No, it's about someone who is getting into business, who is a solo entrepreneur and trying to figure out, I love my business. I'm passionate about it, but how do I tell that story? I know what it is. My family knows what it is. My employees know what it is, but my customers need to know that. So, right, that's what this slide is about. I think we want to keep it very simple, make your brain jog a bit. So that's my thought. But I would open it for Sharjil or Dr. Shambhavi. If you want to put in something, go for it. Like on the slide, any thoughts?
I just love it, that's all. A
Same.
couple of
I don't think that he opens an actual car. Like the front end of it is wrong, but all in
Mhm.
all, great ad.
Yeah, but it does have those,
Yep,
all the
it's
guts
not
you
the
need to have.
key.
So it's not
It's
the key.
perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So we'll go to the next slide. But yeah, we would love to have some comments, and so we can Sharjil or Dr. Sharma will pick it up, and then once I switch, one of us will pick it up. So the next slide, storytelling, show, don't tell. I think it's a very fundamental way of saying a story, as Dr. Sharma spoke about in starting, like in the old times when your grandparents used to speak about, tell you a story, they would never tell you the ending of what the characters are, right? They would build upon it. So then you would visualize, it will make your brain function, like it will make you memory jog, and you're like, okay, this is what I'm getting. So I would want everyone to focus on the left side of this slide, the quadrant on the left side. It says data, narrative, and visuals. These are like three building blocks of business storytelling. And why there is data is because every business has a lot of data. We all have amazing SaaS solutions today to figure out what data is coming in, even before we have started a business. We can read a lot of data in that industry where we're getting into, but there's no point of having data on Excel sheets because everyone, including the person who's creating it, just doesn't like it. Let's be honest. Like it's only done for the business purposes because that's what the industry wants you to think. But think of it in a way where 2024 storytelling is becoming so big, right? Now I will talk about data plus narrative, what it does. When you have data and you're trying to couple that with the narrative, you have some kind of insight for the audience to see. And once you have that, you're able to explain the data in really simple terms for them to understand. And that's what you want to do. You don't want to create a friction between your data and your audience. You want to make sure that the friction is kind of cut off altogether and your audience is able to understand the data you're trying to say. Now, if you move to the right side, the visuals and the data together, uh, think of it this way. You have Excel sheet, you have looked at different, you have data of 100 car dealership, for example. You are a company which does that. Now you have the data, but what does it signify for you? It's very boring, like plain boring to understand what the data is doing for you. Now you put a pivot table or you put a bar chart, different kind of charts with a lot of good colors or however. Now that's where it catches the eye of the audience. At least for me, it would. I hope it does for everyone else. Now, when you do that, you're enlightening the audience. Like they're like, oh wow, okay, this data really makes sense. I think before this, I thought it was complete waste of time, but I think now it makes a lot of sense. Now, the last part of this whole structure of business storytelling in this part is when you put narrative, which you have been doing from that time with data, and you put the visuals together. When your audience was not thinking about looking at that, what you're trying to sell or what you're trying to talk about your business, now they're really engaged. They want to know more. They have that kind of curiosity to know more. Okay, wait, this makes a lot of sense to me. I'm in this industry. I want to know more. I want to buy this product, but I love this visual. I love the narrative it's going with. And that's where the main part is the change. You bring about a change in the audience, in their thought process, and they start liking what they're seeing. And then a simple storytelling building blocks have really helped you to bring about a product, right? Now, I will just quickly explain. It's pretty foundations of business storytelling is power of the stories. Like the main, it's memorable. According to a research, let me get that right one. Yeah, a study by Stanford, it is said that 63% of people could remember stories, but only 5% could remember statistics. So think of this way: when you say 7% of people did this, etc., etc. Ask them next week, what did we say about it? Oh, I think probably said 2% of people remember. That's what it is. Nobody's going to remember the data you're feeding them. They are never going to. But when you talk about a story, they're going to remember. So it has to be memorable. It also has to be persuasive. In the study which is shown, storytelling versus infographics. Infographics are great in a lot of situations in marketing. Get it wrong in business, but when you put a story around, it was shown that in a study by Save the Children charity organization, that a story-based version outperformed more donation versus the infographic. So $2.38 on average was donated when the story was shared with the people for charity versus $1.4 for the infographic. And lastly is the engagement, right? When you're talking about story, people put their guard down. They are more receptive to the idea of listening to you. And if it's interesting, if it's fun, it comes through our data. I think it all comes together. So that's engagement for you. So that's a bit about this. And then we have uses of business stories. Of course, you want to communicate your strategy. Your strategy might be great inside the boardroom. It might be great with your employees. It has to make sense for your audiences because that they are the end product. if you're in a business of such kind, right? You need to engage people, which we have already spoken about. Then you have types of business stories. You have values. A lot of you talk about integrity, teamwork, and honesty. But think about this: would you rather have? Would you prefer a handbook which has 900 pages about the company, or would you prefer a 3-page story about how the values created the company? I think I would choose the latter, because it just makes sense for me. It could be different for everyone else, but I think that's very important. Uh, Story patterns, of course, Sharjeel will cover this more in the next slide, but quickly, story patterns is like connection and clarity. You need to have a clarity. If you start strong, you get really weak in the middle, and your ending is strong. I think audience will lose that kind of the traction towards the story. So that's important. Make sure that you have a good pattern. Uh, where would you use this kind of business storytelling in presentation? Like every business needs to sell. Presentations are getting boring. You need to make that fun. So I think that's very important that if you learn the basic blocks, it can really revolutionize your presentations. You would be able to sell it more to the investor. You're reaching out to your audience. If you're going into a kiosk, you're talking about with so much enthusiasm about the story. I think they will like this. And other few things, success factors for storytelling is motivation, of course, skill and discipline. And lastly, make sure it's always ethical practices. Do not go over the top just talking about in a story. Don't get carried over. I think that's what I would say. Passion is great, excitement is amazing, but when you get carried over saying a lot of things which you don't do, what data doesn't show to you, but you're telling that to your customer or to your audience, it's pretty wrong. So yeah, that's it in this few slides, and thank you so much for listening to me, and I'll keep it open for
Yeah.
my other two mates. Yeah.
Yeah, Shantanu, I'm just going to interrupt a little bit here and say,
Yeah.
so when we were talking about the old story telling method, my dad is a great storyteller, and he would start with, I'm going to tell you this, but you should not cry. And that would set the stage for me to begin crying,
Mhm.
because it would be some story about where, some sad things happen, and then it'll be a happy ending. But I'm already all ready to, tearing up. So this
Mhm.
is one thing. Now, when you mention about startups and presentations, I want to say this, that I'm mentoring a couple of people, as you are well aware. And even my LinkedIn profile says that startup mentor. And this is something which I've been telling them, that if you are pitching in the beginning of the whole series, everybody's pitching, or if you're in the middle or the end, be ready to change your story accordingly, because how much energy people have in the beginning, what they have in the middle, what they have, and even you yourself. So keep different versions of the same thing, emphasize on different, and don't get into too much detail which is not necessary at that particular point, which is exactly endorsing what you also said. Keep focus, be prepared. And it, obviously you've rehearsed it, but the natural person's whatever the way they deliver, that has to be retained. It can't be so rehearsed, so practiced, that it looks so obvious that there is no emotion in it. Sharjeel, go for it.
So, I fully agree with most of the things we're talking about. The only point I
Mhm.
want to add at this stage is storytelling is a practice, whether you're doing it in written form, in presentation form, in large events. Think of it as stand-up comedy, right? You improve each time you say the same joke. You deliver it better. Same is true for storytelling, which is why it's important that you recognize the right stories. Typically, the first stage of storytelling is finding the story. Nobody crafts a story, whether you're talking about cinema as well. Most theater and movie directors will say, hey, we saw this thing happen, we found this, and then we built on it. Nobody creates a story from scratch. This has never happened, and most brands fall into this of let's start from nowhere, which is not really a good
Mhm.
starting point. So definitely knowing these things, I would say, are important because these are what help you get to showing what you have to offer, right? We are still in the part where you have something to tell and you're not able to showcase this. And now we're going to move into some of these elements that go more into the showing part as well, right? So this is the next ad, which is one of my favorite ads of all time, right? It is meant to be on print. Try not to hear this printed on a newspaper with a Coke bottle opening. It doesn't show happiness. It doesn't show a person opening anything. There is nothing about this which is true to the principles of advertising, if you think about it. But it is so good because it gets the job done. It doesn't have fancy text. You can miss those 5 words very easily. But this is the unique part of show don't tell, where you can show only with your physicality, right? Think of it this way. You don't know the taste of everything on this planet, but if you were to ever imagine, oh, if I lick that plastic chair, what does it taste like? Your tongue knows. Your tongue knows the textures of things you have never licked yet. It's incredible, right? Same way your ears know the sounds even if they haven't heard them yet. Your nose knows the smells. Your eyes know the sights even if you haven't seen them. That's the idea of showing, right? Over here, you cannot hear it. You cannot see it. But in all of our heads, we can imagine that little white smoke coming out, the sound going, and the pop going, the place, everything is so clear. You have to draw attention to that because that's the full story. And these are some of the ways that we're really looking at stories. So I think Dr. Shambhavi and Herbert also mentioned that stories sometimes they go weak in between, they go high again. That's why it's important to like really understand shapes of stories, right? Because these are basically high and low points that really dictate the flow of the narrative. Now, knowing what kind of story you want to tell is very important, right? Most brands they typically go for this man in whole slash person in whole story, the two lovers story almost. There's also a lot of brands that really go for which way is up, right? Because these brands restore stability again. They're not there to improve your life, they're there to keep your life normal. So knowing these things is supremely important. Same is true from a creation story standpoint. Take any brand which has like one shoe, imagine, right? Take like this shoe is meant for people who have certain kinds of problems with their leg. It starts with one day, right? That one day goes into a week, goes into a month, goes into a year, creates a better life. It's a shoe ad based on a person buying a shoe. But what you're showing is 1 year and what it does to this person and their life. You're not saying this shoe is made in the best, facilities in this particular part of the world. Because let me tell you, nobody believes that. Everyone's going to think it's made in China anyway. So don't waste your time telling a story which is hard to convince because the second truth over here is truth doesn't beat lies, good stories beat bad stories. So no matter what it is that you have to tell people, or if you have a product which you're offering to someone, don't try to convince them that you are telling the truth and someone else is lying. Tell them a better story because people believe stories. They don't believe truth and lies. 'Cause fundamentally, so think about it. If people believe truth and lies, misinformation would not exist as a concept. But because the stories of misinformation are so powerful, people believe them, right? As brands, your stories need to be powerful. They need to have the oomph, right? So how do you really have the oomph? That's why we're going to some of the concepts. You always have to put the audience first. This is there's a lot more concepts, but these are the 5 core ones. The most important, no matter what people say, is putting the audience first. Because unlike a movie, and even in movies, I assure you they put audiences first, but audience happens to be mass in terms of brands and businesses, your audiences are way limited, right? So you're trying to put the audience first, then that's where you start. They're the ones who are viewing the story. So always view the ad slash property that you're developing through the eyes of the audience, through the eyes of your prospective customer, not through the eyes of the brand owner. This is again another thing which most marketers, in my opinion, they get wrong. They stick so true to the principles of the brand, they forget the fundamentals of the category and the fundamentals of the audience. Right? That's never do that. Always stick within your audience. That's the most important thing. Quickly going over some of the other concepts. Good design isn't good visual communication. Minimal design looks great. Doesn't mean it gets the point across. So be careful with that. The third one is to make stories with defined intent, or else you're just going off randomly. Again, if you're around a campfire, great. I love it. Marshmallows, the fire crackling. You have like nice warmth. There's that storytelling chill in the air. That's not the case when you're scrolling on Instagram in the comfort of your room in a very uncomfortable angle for your body. Because that's how most people view Instagram, right? So make stories with that intent. Also, you should know that no story fits every situation or context. There has never been a story like that. There never will be a story like that. If you know a story like that, please tell me. I will buy it from you. It will be incredible to have that story. And finally, stories are meant to draw people in, right? You're not supposed to tell someone a story. People should want to listen to your story. In a world where you have so much stories and so much choice, people should want to listen to you. So that's how you need to start designing your stories, right? I'm gonna open it up to like Dr. Shambhu Shantanu.
Yeah,
Feel free to
I'm
talk about
just
it.
waiting to, yeah, I'm just waiting to tell you. So yesterday I was having this conversation with a startup. They've been there for 5 years now, looking for funding and stuff like that. And it's shoes. That is why the relevance out here, which immediately it stuck. And and of course, one of the data points she had is they have comfort shoes, and they customers come back to them in 90 days time to buy, which is a very important thing, which is a good thing to know. Like you said, 1 day, 2 day, how much, what is the relationship between the customer and the brand as such. And then I asked one of what is my common whinge is always when you go back to shoe brands, you find something comfortable. So you buy three different colors and everything. And then after 8 months, 10 months, 1 year, you need to refresh that whole stock for yourself. That shoe brand or whatever in that that particular model is not there anymore. And you're like, why? This was something which I was comfortable. I could just buy it offline. Why is it not there anymore? So this person says that no, actually we continue with the same brand, but we've not you probably don't know it. And I said, then I'm the customer. I should be knowing. So do the people who are on the floor, wherever you're selling it from, retail store, are they aware of it? Are they trained? Can they tell the person? Uh, there was a pause. And then I said, now because with marketing and QR codes are the best thing and easiest to implement. All you need to do is on that shelf put a QR code which takes me to the detail and says that this is the same shoe, the sole of it is same, or the whatever the material is the same. And so that is something which we have available because it's the customer feedback on which most of the stories are built. So now I hope that we will have another one more version of this and more available to us and help our brand selling, because ultimately storytelling we are trying to help in the selling part of it, right? This is what we are trying to do. Shantanu, do you have something to say before we I mean
No,
it's
no, I
all
think
right.
it's been covered really well. I don't really want to take more time, so yeah, we can go to the next slides.
Yep. The next one, which is again, when we say, hey, think about your audience, the part about storytelling is not just, oh, my audience looks good, they must be wearing this is their kind of job. No, no, no. What we really mean is think about how you're feeling, think about how they're feeling. Right? That's what we mean. We are trying to incite particular emotion. That's the purpose of a good story. Right? That's why we pay the big bucks to watch good ads and good stories and good movies, because they make you feel a particular way. This is one of my preferred models for building content. This is a model developed by BuzzFeed, which arguably as a company hasn't done too much good things, but this is their creme de la creme. If there's one thing that BuzzFeed should be remembered for, it is this. What they've done is they've created buckets or almost which sort of tell people what kind of content and what kind of culture really revolves around content engagement. So you have stuff like, hey, this kind of stuff makes me laugh. This is about me and this is about people I know and my community. Stuff like that works. Content that is, or stories that are designed to help you connect, right? Hey, I met a fan the other day. I met a friend after 7, 8 years. You will not believe how much life has changed for us. you have stories that help you like accomplish something. For example, you will not believe how incredible my recording setup these days is. Right? This is what I'm doing. And just 3 months ago, I was doing a whole different thing. These are stories that really come in this vein. And finally, you have stories that make you feel a particular way. Personally, I'm a poet, so that's my entire domain in itself. I'm not really complaining.
this,
But
this is this can be
hmm,
anybody's trump card. If you don't have anything and you're thinking, struggling what to do, how to go about it, content writing, anything, all you need is just this one, and it'll set you for days together. Yeah, is that right, Sharjit? This is the trump card.
100%. 100%, because it immediately gets people into, oh, I have to create. And just on that creation bit, our next live session is all about creating sustainable content and how you make sure you have content calendars that are like fair. So we're going to touch upon a little bit of this and a lot more on that topic as well, because there are certain truths, which is, hey, the biggest reason why people are bad and most brands are like bad at making content is they don't know where the borders are, right? But once you tell them you can make content only within this space, 100 different ideas come out. But once they're like, oh, let's make content, nobody knows what to do because that's like it's too vast. I think that's a conversation
Yeah.
for next week, though.
Right. I'm
And
sorry I'm laughing so much, Sharjil, because you said we meet friend after 7, 8 years. And I'm like, I just missed a friend after 35 years because she was, because she was traveling. And I just
exactly.
missed because so it's like 35. Okay. And you're like 7, 8 is a big thing. Okay, let's not go there. And we have a
Just
comment here, which I'll just quickly highlight. Thank you so much, Mohammed Arshad, for being here. And yes, Menza friends, thank you so much. And of course, you're my
right.
friend in everywhere else as well. Thank you, Mohammed Arshad, for being here. Yeah, quickly,
Yeah.
let's move on, guys. It's already getting way past what we should have, like, what
Yep.
we think and what we do, and what we say, what we show, and what we tell are two different things. Go ahead.
Um, we saw a Ford ad without cars. We saw a Coke ad without actual Coke in it, and now we're seeing a FedEx ad that doesn't have any FedEx in it. Right? A logistics company without a van or a person delivering something, which really goes to show that stories are about connecting people, visuals are about connecting people. You don't necessarily have to photograph your entire process, run behind your entire team, right? And show behind the scenes all the time. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of craftiness and it goes a very long way in terms of what it can establish. That point, I'm going to now hand over to Dr. Shamvi to talk a little bit more about brand owned stories. And yeah, we are going to be super time sensitive because
Thank you. Yes. So most of my interactions always is with entrepreneurs who are by themselves, who are struggling alone by themselves, I would say, or they have a small team, or maybe a little medium-sized team. And very often I have come across this where the entrepreneur says, "Oh God, I'm struggling so much. I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm handling everything." And of course, obviously, we will say, "Why don't you delegate?" Yeah, I delegate, but it's not the same thing. You don't know how I've struggled. I said, "Yes, I know how you have struggled, but do your employees know how you have struggled? Have you ever shared with them? Oh no, I've just recruited them, and I've just got them working." I said, "No. Sometime when you're having a casual conversation, just go about, sit with them, and share this struggle. Once they realize what you have achieved today has not been handed over to you on a platter, they are also then interested in making sure that where what the vision is for the company, for yourself, for them, because let's not forget their salaries come from here, but their salaries are coming because they are helping you generate that revenue. So it's a very, very symbiotic two-way relationship. You appreciate them, they appreciate you, and that's how the journey got. And then it's like, a light goes up. Oh yes, I have never shared this, why didn't I think about it? So that is the part where you go up and go and share it with them and go through that journey. Don't just tell them this I built a like this. Share it with them, show it to them. If you have images of those old days where you were single, person sitting in your room, go ahead, share that. And then that is how you will find there is more of kind of a building of a relationship for a bigger organization. People buy from people. Whatever stories are or whatever features are about Apple and stuff, ultimately everybody remembers Steve Jobs working in the garage. Yes or no, guys? What do you say?
Yep.
that's that's what people, I mean, whatever you, I can't imagine him sitting in some big office and stuff where when he was, it was always, there were only two things, which one is where he's addressing an audience when they are launching, and the other is like some workshop, and there's no workshop mentioned. Actually, you're just imagining that what he must have been doing in that garage, in that workshop. So it's more about how you are building the whole thing up for people, for everybody who is a stakeholder, or who, including people who are just watching you. And media, they need good stories, just like how you need to be featured well. So a PR relationship, a public relations, it's a great, when you have a great story and you've been telling it in a couple of places, different aspects of it, you will find that they will also approach you, they will try to get into them, because like I said, everybody needs to good stories. And so I have this story to tell, which I have never heard of before. And it's a B2B. Most people have challenges in a B2B situation. B2C seems to be a little easier. And I was interviewing on Mensa, like Arshad said just now. On Mensa, I was interviewing a gentleman, Mr. KPR Nair, who's a publisher. And he actually narrated the story to me. And I have used this time and again. Is that he was going with the City of Joy author, Dominic Lapierre, to show him where the shops, where these his books were kept. And he said that the owner is waiting for you and they'll, be there to greet you. He said, owner is fine, but I'm actually interested in finding out who is the salesperson on the floor there with my book. So he goes to the salesperson, takes a Polaroid photo with secretaries accompanying, takes a photo, shows it to him with a hand on the shoulder. And that photo kind of, is really ignites that spark in that salesperson, who amongst the 1,000 books which are there in the bookshop is now going to be a personal selling person for Dominic Lapierre, because that is what he has done for him, for that relationship. So there is no stopping anybody. There's no, and look at me now. Today I'm narrating the story, and I've done this many times, like I said before. Think about what you can do about it. So there's a lot of stuff here which everybody can think about. And maybe like we and Sharjil was saying, we can do 1 hour session on this. But I am going to now just stop this story here with one last. Melon Perez, she's one of my network community here, and we're going with the storm story which we've been having. She is out of the country, but she posted on LinkedIn that her staff, though they didn't have to go to the studio because of the rain, they were not, they just were working from home, but they actually went and checked out on her studio to make sure that there was no damage and nothing. And knowing how expensive any equipment, any asset of ours is, whether it's books or whether it is cameras and stuff like that, they went out and she put the story out, and it was such a feel good factor and so inspiring. And so what is the aim of your story? Do you want to make people aware of it? Do you want to inspire people? Do you want to motivate them? Think about these aspects and then just aim for it. So as I'm so fond of acronyms, aim should be on your mind all the time. Was that Sharjil and Shantanu?
No, makes complete sense. And I think these are like very interesting references and analogies as well. One thing which is very important for businesses to know is anything that is done, even setting up, is a story. A story is a way of communication, right? It's how you communicate to your other people, whether they're investors, whether they're customers, whether employees, whether you're co-founders. Stories are how we communicate with each other, right? Sentences don't mean anything if they just are randomly strung words. They need to have a context, they need to satisfy a purpose, they need to craft narrative. That's all this is. Don't overthink stories too much. Sometimes the simplest ones are awesome.
Right. Are you? Do we have a next slide which is coming up?
Yes, some
Yes.
very cool visuals
Very
here as well.
great. And I
Because
have to give credit to Sharjil for this. Yes, you've done a great
Yeah,
job, Sharjil.
definitely.
visual storytelling, I didn't even have to search. I know exactly what I want. This is a space we've been operating in for more than 10 years now, right? So I take most people don't like ads. I go to a website called Ads of the World to look at ads every day. So we are all touched from a different cloth as such. And I love ads and good narratives. And I think storytelling, a good ad is the easiest way to consume a short story, right? Everything else takes time. A good ad is done very effectively. Just
Right.
moving into a final piece over here about the business game plan, which Dr. Shafi, I'm going to hand it back to you before we bring this to an end.
Yes, the business game plan is what we have been working on, Two Bits of Marketing and myself. And since almost January, we've done a couple of plans already for people, whereby you can go to the website, which we'll share with you at the end of this. You can go to the website, you can sign up for it, and you can sign up for a sample report, in fact, first to see. We go through the business game plan, which actually helps you think about yourself as your business. We evaluate your assets, and then we give you a full report, including a video report on this, on the assessment. And believe you me, that it really helps you think further for your business. It is fun for us, and it is fun for you, because we take it in a very light way, because everybody is working so hard and so seriously. We just want to show you what all you have achieved. So the business game plan seems to be a great way to look at your past, your present, and what your vision alignment for the future is. Before we end the session, I just have one quick story to share. May I, gentlemen, if that's okay
Please,
with you? Okay.
please.
So
Yeah.
this is my favorite author, Jeffrey Archer, and he comes here every one and off time for Emirates Lit Festival. The first time in his life, apparently, he actually read out a story. He was never into reading. He read out a story, and as the story was moving along, what happened is he came to a particular point, and then everybody started clapping. And then he said that there was one more line for the end of the story. But apparently, before that, we had already understood, and everybody was clapping, which meant that he was looking at his publishers and saying, do you think we should just remove this line from here? Can we do this in our future editions, or the editions which are going to the other parts of the world? So crafting a story, narrating it, sharing it, different versions of it for your different audience is something which everybody can do. And storytelling is easy because you have gone through that journey yourself. All you need to do is just share it with people. And we have here Two Bits of Marketing. Thanks from us. Thank you, Shantanu, for putting that out. And you can, we have, as I mentioned already, we have the business link also. Thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure being here, and we look forward
Thank
to
you so
seeing you
much.
starting up again next week. And with this, bye-bye. Be safe. Have a good weekend.
Bye bye, everyone.
Bye, guys. Bye bye.
Bye.
Take care.